I feel very humbled by those words. I feel very humbled and privileged to be here. Don't you just love fear? Do you know why I love fear today? Because I've got one place to go with fear, and that's to God, or to spirit, or to love, or to light. And what's just going through my mind is this beautiful program is all about like love and service, isn't it? The PI guy, and thank God for all of you lot. Because I would be dead. I would be dead if it wasn't for you guys. What's that? Rarely have we seen a person fail who thoroughly follows our path. You guys showed me and taught me what that path was. This spiritual path. This path of kindness. This path that if I follow it correctly, my heart becomes softer. My heart becomes softer. This path that when I'm following it to the best of my ability, I want to spend time with you, and you. Because me on my own, I think you'll see you next Tuesdays. I do, on my own. So I come to you guys a broken junkie, a thieving drug addict. My kids weren't speaking to me. I was 8 stone in weight. I had bones sticking out of my cheeks. They used to call me the Walking Dead. And that's what I was. There was no emotion left in me. There was the flicker of light inside my soul was going out rapidly. And I knew I was going to die. Because I was one of these people that was in and out of these rooms for years. And you guys were holding out your hands and saying, "Young, come all the way in." And I'd be like, "Nah, I'll do Young's Anonymous." And what's it? It says in our book, our beautiful book. It's like a magic book, isn't it? Magic. If I'm living these words inside it. If I'm living them. You guys showed me that half measures avail me nothing. You guys showed me. You didn't tell me anything. You didn't say, "You do this, Young." You showed me. And that's how I came to believe. By your example. I used to love drugs. I loved them. I used drugs from the age of 11 to 43. My sobriety date, my clean date is Christmas Eve. Oh, in the right place. Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve 2018. And something happened to me on that day. Something happened to me. Do you know what? I was speaking to someone the other day. I better time myself. I can't see anything without my glasses, man. I'm so old. My back's going. But I should be dead, so I'm all right with that today. I'm all right with my eyes going, my back going. Thank you for being alive. Thank you. That's one of my most powerful prayers, if it's coming from my heart. Thank you. And I mean it. I do. Where was I? Yes, something happened to me on that day. I was in another psychiatric unit. I've been in a few of them. I'd come off a load of methadone, a load of alcohol, a load of diazes and all that, you know. And one day in there, I'd finished my detox, but I was really sick and really ill. And I tell this story a lot, and it's funny because it's only recently that I've understood and I've felt, and the Spirit has talked to me, the significance of this moment. And that's what it's like for me often. I'm a slow learner. Usually I look back and I think, something happened to me then. I was blind to it at the time. Because I know today, and I don't know a lot, I know a little, that the spiritual breadcrumbs are always there. It just depends on how awake I am, if I can experience them, if I can embrace them. How awake am I? Like my good friend Howard, and amazing job, Howard. Love you, man. Do you know what? Howard, right? We were in Ireland recently, and before I sat there like that, and again the fear started engulfing me. and I started praying, and I said, "Please God, remove this fear, remove this fear." And then Howard just walked along and just goes, "Come here," and just give me this heart-to-heart hug, and the fear was removed. And isn't this the sort of thing we do here with the newcomers? Is there any newcomers here today, by the way? Sort of newcomers? Lock the doors. It is a cult. You ain't going nowhere. It's not a cult. We love you and we want you to get well. And we've got a solution, right? And this is the beautiful thing. 100% success rate for those who live in a 12-step program. They don't use. They not only don't use, they become kinder, more gentle, more loving, more tolerant. It's just absolutely magical and mind-blowing. And it seems to get better as the years go on. So what happened to me on that day? I fell to my knees, and I was in the corner of this psychiatric unit. The thing is, I loved it in there. I felt all right. I felt safe in there. It's in the real world that I used to struggle. It's being clean that I used to struggle, because life seemed really spiky and you felt scary to me. I was scared of rejection. I was scared of what you thought about me. I was just full of fear. Although when I did my fear inventory and you said you're full of fear, because you could see it a mile off, you could see through this mask. I said, shut up, I ain't scared of nothing. That's how I present myself. That's how I used to present myself. That's how I came into the rooms of CA with so many masks, because self does not reveal self. It wants to protect itself. It wants control. It doesn't seem to want the best for me. It doesn't seem to want the best for me. Why is it? Every time I walk past the gym, I think I should go in there, because I know it'll make me feel better, but my head goes, nah. Why is it my head doesn't go on, go and do something that's nice? Why is it my head tries to talk me out of answering the phone? So thank God I'm always watching for this today. So going back to that day. So I'm on the floor, and I started crying my eyes out. And I was shivering. I was shivering in the corner. Do you know why? Because I thought I was going to die. I thought I was one of these people that was never going to get recovery. I thought that I've done recovery. I've done it. I hadn't done one thing. I hadn't been through the 12 steps and had a spiritual awakening. I'd been going to meetings but nothing else. And when I say that, I'm never getting down on meetings, because they are so important. You know, you guys carried me when I was holding on for dear life. You carried me until I could get this thing that I didn't know existed but was inside me all along. And so on that day, on that Christmas Eve, this lady, a German lady, an elderly lady, and I was talking to someone earlier on actually about this. I seem to have a lot of elderly ladies as my teachers. My sponsor's like a 67-year-old lady. One of my first teachers is like a 75-year-old lady who's like the most northern lady in the world but loves Top Boy. Love that. Tells me stories of the Bible but then tells me she's not a Christian. And this elderly lady come towards me, and she held out her hand, and she just put her hand in mine. That moment was worth more than any money I'd ever experienced, because something was transmitting through her into me, some kindness. And what she placed in my hand was this gold angel. It's my most prized possession today. She said, everything's going to be all right, young. And it was. But it wasn't, well, who knows? I don't know if it's because... All I know is when she started talking to me about God and spirit and love and all these things that normally I would have recoiled from like a hot flame, I suddenly said, okay. I listened. My ears suddenly opened up. Because this is just my opinion. I don't believe I can surrender. I don't believe that I surrender. I think I'm dragged to a place of defeat where I stop saying I know and I stop arguing with you. That's when looking back, that's when I know I was finally ready to accept what you guys were trying to offer me for so many years. For so many years. I had no idea I was suffering from a life-threatening progressive illness. I got chucked out of home when I was 16. My mum chose a man over me. So can you imagine the resentment? Oh, that was going to be a good one for step 4. Yeah. But I thank her for that today in my heart. Because anything that I've lived through, anything that you've lived through it. So doesn't that say you're really resilient and strong and can get through every adversity? And now maybe I can use it to help someone else. Maybe I'm uniquely placed to help that new kid who's been chucked out of his mum's house and is full of anger and full of hate. And I can say, you can get to a place of forgiveness and spiritual growth. Well, I might not say that to him straight away because I might freak out. What do you mean, man? Spiritual growth. See you later. I'll just say change. You got to be changed. So I had no idea I was suffering from this illness. Why would I? So I'm living in this flat at 16 years old and I'm selling a load of drugs and it's the rave scene. And I had no idea that on a Wednesday afternoon, sticking a few tabs of acid in your eyelid because you think it's going to get to your brain quicker is not normal. And then downing a bottle of Thunderbirds. Anyone remember Thunderbirds? Thunderbirds or Bucky, Buckfast? Any ex-Buckfast drinkers? No Scottish in the house? It's not normal. And when I'm still going for it 6 days later, and I'm now in a field in Cornwall that looks like a scene from Mad Max, and there's like children with Rottweilers trying to sell you acid, I don't go, do you know what, chaps? This is a result of the phenomenon of craving. Once I start, I can't stop. I'm just like, yeah, I love it. I love getting wasted. And at one of those raves, it was a universe rave. Anyone go to a universe rave? It was good. Right, this rave. And I remember, I don't know how I remember this, but I do remember it, because I've done a lot of drugs. I was stood there, and the lasers, remember the lasers? I could feel the bass, and I loved everyone. And I remember thinking, I'm never going to feel this good ever again. And I never did until this moment right now. So my drug use progressed. I first tried cocaine in about 1993. Heroin was probably 95. And then I learnt to wash it up. And, it spiralled. Of course it spiralled out of control. And I went into a lot of treatment centres. And each time I came out of one of those places where I learned things like triggers. Because that works, doesn't it? Triggers. Watch out for your triggers. Watch out for triggers. Yeah, but life's a trigger and I can't watch out for life. But I'm ducking and diving. Watch out for the triggers. And so I'm confused because every time I go into one of those places, I go in for 6 months or 8 months. And so when I come out, I know I'm recovery champion. I'm all over Facebook. I'm going to get the Serenity prayer tattooed on my neck. I'm picking up gold key rings, or what colour is it? Black? Gold? I don't think you get gold, do you? I'm picking up key rings left, right and centre. But I'm still smoking a bit of weed or whatever. It's not really drugs, is it? And it used to baffle me. It used to, really, honestly, in that bit in Working with Others, and it says, show the newcomer how you were baffled. It baffled me when I'm walking down the street and my life is going great. I always say this. And I've got a new pair of Nike Air Max. And I've got a new girlfriend. And then suddenly my head twists and kind of convinces me that I can smoke one rock today. I can have one drink. I can have one whatever, the substance isn't really important. That's the real powerlessness for me, that first thought. Because I've got no power over when that comes back. If it comes back, actually, I know my step one tells me it is coming back without a spiritual solution. My experience, not just the book, tells me it always came back. Didn't care how I felt. Didn't care how much weight I put on, how many times I went to the gym, how much yoga I'm doing. Spiritual. Didn't care about that stuff. It didn't care. It didn't care that my kids were now happy again because daddy's back in their lives. It didn't give a shit. And it was heartbreaking every time I picked up. Heartbreaking. That's the worst, isn't it? knowing there's something. Because the first time you guys tried to bring a message into me, I was in East London. There was a detox place called Greg House, I think it was called. And you guys came in and you carried a message. And it must have stuck because I kept coming back. I just wouldn't do the bloody work. I wasn't broken enough. Because the only people that are going to find this stuff difficult, maybe the ones that ain't had enough. Maybe, I don't know. So it used to baffle me. Baffling. Cunning, baffling, powerful. It says that in the book, doesn't it? Alcohol, drugs, cocaine. Cunning, baffling, powerful. But what else is cunning, baffling, powerful? My mind. My mind is cunning, baffling, powerful. And where does the main problem of the drug addict centre? In my mind. The main problem centres in my mind. So I know I can't use, because I know once I put one in I can't stop, but I can't not use, because I've got a head that will not allow me not to pick up. It won't allow me. But I don't want to pick up anymore. I've had enough. The last 7 years of my drinking and my using, I didn't want to drink and use. I didn't want to do it. So I went from, somehow, during my heroin addiction, I forged quite a good career in the music industry. Making money, bought a house, car, blah, 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 blah. Because I thought that was what life was about. It's about money. That's where happiness lies. That's what I believe, because that's what I've been taught. So I had those things, but yet I still felt like a piece of shit inside. I still felt that restless, irritable, discontent nature. I was still like that little kid that was scared of you rejecting him. I was still all these things, but had no idea what I was. Because I've been using for so long, my mind was so cloudy, the spirit within me was trying to scream its way out, but I'm pushing it down with another hit, with another pipe, with another misery, emotional bender. And I've got no idea what's going on. And I think drugs and alcohol's the problem. So to my surprise, when I had my first detox in Greg House, and I come out and I feel worse. Because if I just have a detox, and I've had many, it's no different than cutting a weed at the top. If I cut a weed off like that, what happens? It grows back because I haven't got down to the root of the problem. And we do that through the way Howard was saying, through these beautiful 12 steps. So I had no idea what was going on in me. And what happened to me? I can see. What happened to me? I'm so grateful to be alive. You don't believe me. I used to always share I shouldn't be alive. And then my sponsor said to me, "No, Young, you should be alive. You have something to shout about now. You have your experience to help some dying soul like you were a dying soul. To shout this." What's that reading that's just come to my mind? We use the 12 steps of recovery. We know that reading because it has already been proven that the 12-step recovery program works. Because the 12-step recovery program rockets me into this fourth dimension of existence. This is what it's done for me. It's connected me to a power that I can feel right now in my soul. I feel it. It's connected me to love. It's transformed me into someone who used to just want to take from life. And I just want to give. Because I know when I take, I'm taking from my soul. And when I give, something comes back to me. The fire ignites. The fire ignites. You on? Yeah. I love that. I need that. I need the deflation of the ego, man. Do you know what? I'll tell you a story. My sponsor always says to me, "Don't think you're some big Willy Bobo, Young." And that's the best I can be is nothing. I need to be nothing. I need to shrink. The smaller I become, the bigger the spirit within. The bigger my God. And the bigger me, the smaller my God. Blocks out the spirit. I did a share somewhere and I felt all proud of myself. Taking credit for what was not me. Yeah. And I was sat down at the place where I work and I was sort of having these thoughts, thinking, yeah, you're a really good speaker. All this nonsense, all the ego stuff, because I've met the enemy and it's me. I've met the enemy and it's me. And so I was thinking these things, and I looked down at the desk and someone wrote, "You twat." That's God talking to me. That is the spiritual breadcrumbs laid at my feet. It absolutely is. I feel it. So I lost everything through my using the first time around. Missus chucked me out. Went from living with a family to living in Basildon. Is there anyone here from Basildon? Oh yeah. No way. The last time I said Basildon and I was a bit disrespectful, and someone goes, "I'm from Basildon." I'm so sorry. But I ended up living in Basildon, and it was a really miserable time. But now I can use flat out, because now I don't have to creep around. I don't have to creep out of bed at 11 when she's asleep and rob her wallet and do this and do this. Now I'm flat out. And now I end up selling heroin and crack cocaine in Bethnal Green for a Bengali gang. Me, who thought so highly of himself, who had a successful career, who was selling records, who was DJing around the world, blah, 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 blah. And now I'm sat in grubby little cars, answering calls, running about, and doing shots to people, to desperate junkies like me. But that wasn't even the worst. Because I thought it can't get any worse than this. I remember sat there thinking, what's happened to me? Has anyone ever felt that? What's happened to me? But not knowing I'm in the middle of this tornado and I've got no way of getting out of it. No matter how much I try and think my way out, my self-reliance always fails me. My best plan for coming off heroin once was to join the Foreign Legion. And I discovered I was too old. Didn't think about that. I was a skeleton. I looked grey. So the next 7 years was just me in and out of treatment centres, basically. And I'll just go right to the end of my using, and then let's get into some good stuff. I'd come out of treatment centre number 4. Now I'm in Sheffield. Anyone from up north here? Yeah. Oh, more cheers than that. So I'm in Sheffield, and I was living in a sober living place, and I thought, this time I really have got it. Because this is the thing. Sometimes when I get clean, I start feeling better, and I mistake feeling better with being better. And what does it say in our book? It's when the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. It doesn't say when I get my teeth done in Turkey, I straighten out mentally and physically. It doesn't say when I get 50 pairs of trainers, I straighten out mentally and physically. But I do those things and it's filling that spiritual void. New girlfriend fills the void. I've got no idea that my illness, the virus, is just patiently waiting like a tiger in the grass. Just waiting. And I'm like the little Bambi. I've got no idea. And it always pounced, and I had no idea. And I was caught blindsided by the mental blank spot. I couldn't see the tiger, which always kicked and just beat the living shit out of me. Every time. And so I was living in a sober living place. And I think I was 8 months. Still no programme. Going to meetings, no programme. Big book? No, thanks, mate. I actually thought I'd stay away from those lot. The ones who talk about God and the steps in the book. But funnily enough, those were the guys that always remained there when the others just came and went, came and went, came and went. I went to a meeting the other day, one that I've not been for a couple of years, and I went there and there was probably 3 of the same people. That was it. And they were the ones talking about God or Spirit or Big Book and doing service. It all seems to be the same thing, doesn't it? Trust God, clean house, help others. But I didn't know that when I came in. And so, I'm about 8 months clean and sober. I think I'm really well. And then I got my own flat. And the day I moved into that flat, walked down the street, saw a guy begging. Head tells me, that looks quite nice, looking like you're about to die. And so, it's like that guy on the street is made of metal and I'm a magnet, and I can't do anything about going to the guy. I've got no power. If I had the power not to, I'm not a drug addict, perhaps. Because it says, doesn't it, at certain times I cannot bring into my mind with sufficient force the memory of those kids crying their eyes out, the memory of the painful detox, the memory of the broken promises, the memory of me looking in the mirror wanting to top myself. I cannot bring that into my mind. So I know today, without this power, without God, I cannot trust the very thing that I'm carrying around with me 24 hours a day. But with these spiritual practices, the 10th step, the 11th step, I can trust my thinking. My mind is a whisper. When I came into you guys, it was absolutely insane. So busy, I couldn't sit by myself. I love sitting by myself. Love it. So I moved into that place, and so I picked up on day 1. And what I can see today, the only thing keeping me clean was fear. Because I knew if I picked up in that sober living place, I'd get chucked out and I'd be homeless. So fear keeps me clean for a little bit. And so I'm back in it. And the last couple of years, my world consisted of me, a sofa, a cracked phone. I'd see my dealer, people I'm robbing, people in the off licence, and people in the chemist. That was my world. That was my world. That child my mother held up, that's the best he could do. That was the best I could do. If I could have done any better, I would have. I didn't want to wake up every day facing those 4 horsemen. Terror, bewilderment, frustration and despair. I didn't choose that. It seemed to have chose me, and I couldn't do anything about it. But today I can see that was the gift I was given. That was the gift, because it was only then I'm all in. When I managed to get into another detox, when I went into that psych unit, when I went into that treatment centre, I stopped saying, yeah, I know. Stop saying that. I just was like, what do I need to do? Maybe there was a little bit of humility there. Maybe. There was the gift of desperation. There was willingness in abundance. And I'm more willing today than I was that day. 100%. So I finally found a sponsor that I started using as a sponsor, not just in name. And he was a man who had great humility. He was gentle, he was kind, he showed me by his example, and he guided me through this big book. And like Howard was doing in his workshop, he said, Young, you're a ticking time bomb. You don't know when your head's going to twist again. Let's get through this quickly. But he enforced in me, not enforced, he never do that. He taught me. He said, these 12 steps are never completed. This is a way of life. This is a design for living. This is a spiritual path that can get as deep as the deepest ocean. You can be transformed, Young, he said. into someone that you will never recognise from what you are right now at this minute. And I think about that bit in the book where it says, if you want what we have, do you want it? I wanted it off some of those guys. Not all of them. But some of them, they were on fire. And like Ebby, they did no ranting. They kind of did, but, not in a like... No, it was more their example of how they lived, how they showed up for life, how they were outside the meetings, how they were holding out their hands to annoying people like me. And they said things like, keep coming back. But they said, don't just keep coming back. Do you want something different? I know, it says, if you want what we have and are willing to go to any lengths to get it. And like Howard pointed out, my sponsor Donna talks about the it. What is the it? Well, it's the Spirit, it's the love, it's the God, it's the thing that I cannot put into words. That is what the it is. I can't put this stuff into words. This spiritual vision that's been presented to me, that I'm experiencing right now. From that hopeless junkie who was angry. I used to have a frown on my face all the time because I used to get beat to shit as a kid. I used to get tortured and all sorts of stuff. And so I hated everybody. But it's not like that today. This might sound weird. I'm thankful for all those moments. I am. It's weird, isn't it? I can't even believe I'm saying stuff like that. But I really am. It's mental. It's crazy. Thank you for my past. Thank you for my past. Because I used to live in that very, very famous city. Self-pity city. You know it. Not just me then. I always share this. When God pipes REM, everybody hurts through the clouds. Oh Lord. I've got a bottle of vodka in one hand, a bag of smack in the other. My life's so shit. Oh my God, my childhood's the worst. Everyone hates me. I've got no girlfriend. And I do this stuff very imperfectly. Thank God for my brokenness. Thank God for my brokenness. Because it's through my brokenness where I find the rubble, where I find the gems. I need to make mistakes. Thank God for my defects of character. Again, it reminds me how much I need to turn to this power, away from the problem. I was thinking about step 10. I was chatting to someone out there about step 10. Reminds me of this scene from Bruce Lee. I love Bruce Lee. He's one of my teachers. There's this scene from a Bruce Lee film. And Bruce is teaching this young kid. And he's trying to teach him, and this kid's doing whatever. And then this kid kind of looks down for a moment. And Bruce just is like, wah! Twats him in the face. And he says, never take your eye off your opponent. That's step 10. Because I'm the opponent. Am I watching? Do I know what's going on in there? Am I bringing the spirit of Bruce Lee into my step 10? So this guy started taking me through the steps. Something started to happen to me. It really did. Just, I think, the relief and maybe the little bit of hope that was each step, there was just a little bit more sunlight coming out and then coming in. Just a little bit. And I didn't know it at the time. It's just looking back, I can see something was happening. Something was happening. And when he started taking me through this beautiful big book, he said, it's got to be more than just words, young. Not just information, but transformation. Walk the walk. Don't just talk it. Anyone can share and do this and do that, but how are you presenting yourself? Are you willing to seek, to continue to seek? Are you willing not to rest on your laurels? And I know today the spiritual awakening is not a one-time deal, because it keeps happening again and again and again and again and again. We continued. Because he also said this to me. He said, do you want middle of the road solution? Does anyone in here want middle of the road solution? Because he said that looks a bit like this. Meh. Yeah, I'm sober, it's really fun. He said, you can be rocketed into this fourth dimension. And I didn't know what he was talking about, but I knew that he wasn't lying. I knew he wasn't lying. This geezer who'd been on this path for 30 odd years wasn't lying. And when I say that, 34 years, I know people with 34 years that I wouldn't want anything they've got. But the guys, thank God for the old timers showing us the way. Those ones that are still on fire, you can't buy that stuff, that wisdom, that knowledge, that experience. Rarely have we seen a person fail who thoroughly follows our path. Like my sponsor said, it's not about catching up, it's about catching on. It's about catching on. So one of the things he said to me when he was taking me through this beautiful big book, he said, once I take you through these steps, John, you have to promise me you're going to take others through. That's the deal if you want me to take you through the work. He said, can you deal with that? I said, yes. He said, okay, cool, let's get into it. Let's get into it quickly. And so as soon as I went through the work, God presented someone in my path. And that person's still clean today. And the first 5 people, right, are still clean that I took through. And so, obviously, I'm like, yeah, I'm like the best sponsor ever, aren't I? Because obviously it's me, isn't it? Obviously it's all me. And I said to my sponsor, I think I'm going to be the first person that has sponsees that don't relapse. I said that to him. And he laughed in my face. And then the next 4 all relapse. And he said, Young, what you have to remember, and you need to remember this, if a prospect, a fellow, because remember, we're just walking hand in hand. There's no one above or below. It's like we're on a level here, aren't we? He said, if they do well, i.e. stay clean and sober, walk the walk, that's not on you. That's not to do with you. And if they relapse, that's not to do with you either. But maybe you're planting seeds. Maybe they see the light in your eyes. Because isn't this what we become? We become the light. We become the ones that put the light on the path and say, come on in. It's here for you if you want it. Does it look attractive to you? Have you had enough? You know, back on that day in 2018, I'd had enough. But I'd had enough a lot of other times. But something had broken inside me. Something had broken inside me. So I launched myself into this stuff like my life depends on it. And I do that because I love you guys. And I love Cocaine Anonymous. I've always been in service because that's what I was taught. And I do it now not out of obligation. I can't imagine not doing service. I can't imagine not having a very healthy prayer and meditation life. I can't imagine that. And it started off with 1 minute a day, staring out the window. Please, something help me. Started off like that. And now, because this is, for me, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. This has just opened up something huge. And I came in a junkie, an alcoholic, a criminal, a thief, someone who hated themselves, and something has shifted inside my soul. And I remember I said to my sponsor, when's the spiritual awakening going to happen? When's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? He goes, whoa. Pause. You'll know when it's happened. Because you want to scream about it in the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous. To the man and woman who doesn't think this thing's possible. Maybe they're scared like you were. Maybe they've been in and out like you were. And you want to shout about it. You want to make it look attractive and simple. Because the more simple I can try and make this, the better, I believe. Why use 100 words when I can use 2? Simple, simple. So today, I'm beyond grateful for having this 12-step program, this design for living that keeps on getting better and better and better. A sponsee said this to me the other day. And I love it when, we were talking about this at dinner last night, when a newcomer says something so profound, because they haven't been clouded by all the words yet and stuff, so they're just very pure. And they said to me, because one of my most powerful spiritual practices is pause. And they said to me, maybe the fourth dimension is in the pause. Because in the pause, there's no fear, there's no anxiety, there's no worry, there's no selfishness, there's just me and God. In the pause. So today, because of this 12-step program, because of Cocaine Anonymous, I'm a good father. I have a job that I love, and I hadn't worked for years. I'm a man of integrity. I'm an honest man. I will help anyone in here if they hold out their hand, and I would love to do that. All because of you guys and your example. I feel so, so grateful and lucky to have the privilege of standing up here and shouting about how beautiful this 12-step program on Cocaine Anonymous is. Thank you so much, guys. Oh,